Okay, now I'm going to show you a little bit about how to use the OneNet remote control to access guide and program information on your TV screen. There are actually multiple ways to bring up the program guide and to access information. I'll show you those. The easiest way to bring up the program guide is simply to hit the button on your remote that says guide. It's pretty much right in the center of your remote. And if you press that once, it will bring up what we call our mini guide. And from here you can actually go forward by pushing the arrow buttons that surround the OK button. So you can see what's coming up on this channel. And then you see ACC basketball tournament is on later, then Sports Center, around the horn. You can go backward again using the opposite arrow key. You can also go up and down if you use the up and down arrows that surround the OK button in the middle. You can see I'm switching, looking at what's on other channels right now in this time period. I can also use the arrows to go forward on other channels as well. See BOY, I can see what's going to be on later, the news at noon, Andy Griffith Show. Going to be on later, so that's what we call our mini guide. You also, if you press the guide button a second time, then it will bring up the full program guide, and that is the different channels that we have. You can see I have ESPN there, which is 10:13. You can also go forward in the guide here. You can use the arrow keys that surround the OK button. One thing you do not want to do is press and hold down one of those buttons, because it will pick up, it'll make that be a continuous signal, and so it might actually go a whole lot further in the guide, up and down, or whichever way you push than you want to. Just to give you an example, if you look at the set-top box there, which is a DVR box, it doesn't really matter which one it is, but right there I'm circling it. You can see that little green rectangle, and if I happen to hit one of the arrow buttons and leave it on, you can see how it blinks several times. Each one of those is a time it's going to take. I have let up on the button now, but you can see that it's still going up in the guide, and there's no way to prevent that. So it is not a good idea to press and hold down the button. If you want to go multiple times, then you should press for each time, or if you use the up and down arrow buttons below the guide button, then you can use those to go a page at a time. And so now I'm pressing those, and you can see it goes up through one whole screen at a time. And that's a much quicker way to get through the guide. And now I'm going down, and you can see it goes a page at a time. Or if I want to go individually, you can see right here now I'm just using the up and down arrows above and below the OK button, and you can see that there I'm going one at a time. And once I get to the bottom of a screen, it will go down to the next channel. But you do have to be careful not to press and hold, or you may end up just cycling through channels that you never intended to. Anytime you want to get out of the guide, all you have to do, or frankly anything that is on the screen like that, when you pull up a menu, you pull up program information or the guide, if you hit the X button, which is to the right of the guide button, it will take that off of your screen, and you can see I just did that there. Another way that you can progress through the guide, and again I'm going to bring it up by pushing the guide button twice, bring up the full guide. You can also advance forward and backward through the guide. You can do this in several different ways. You can use the left and right arrow keys that are near the OK button. And so if I want to go forward, and again, I would advise just pressing one at a time. If you do press and hold, it will advance several times. If you can watch the green light here on the right there on the set-top box, if I press and hold, it's going to blink several times, and every one of those is one time it's going to advance, even though I've now let up. So if you hold that down and get impatient and hold it down for a long time, it'll keep going forward. So, but that's one way you can do it. Now I'm going backwards using the arrow key by the OK button. Now, if I want to progress faster through the guide, I can also do that by using the buttons up at the top. Below the three gray buttons, there are buttons that are play, pause, rewind, and fast forward. And then there's chapter advances, like if you were watching on DVD or something like that. So if you press the chapter forward button, which is beside the black button with a red dot, which is the record button, I can press that and it will take me forward one screen at a time. You can see there's like basically an hour and a half block up on the screen. Right now it's 5 p.m. through the 6 to 6:30 block. So if I press that button, it's taking me forward an hour and a half at a time. So now it's up to 8 p.m. Now it's up to 9:30. And again, if you go backwards, so that means you hit the one on the left, which is chapter reverse. And again, I'm going backward an hour and a half at a time. And again, if you want to go faster than, or also if you want to go faster than that, you can use the buttons right above those two buttons, which are fast forward and reverse. If you hit the fast forward button once, it will go forward an entire day. And so you can see right now it's Thursday, March 13th at 3:30 p.m. Now if I'm going to push this button, and now it says Friday 3/14, so it's Friday, March 14th. It's gone forward an entire day in the guide. I press it again, now I'm up to Saturday. Press it again, and it goes to Sunday. So it advances a full 24 hours in the guide by pressing the fast forward and the rewind button. So now I'll press rewind, I'm back to Saturday, I'm back to Friday, and now I'm back to the current time. So that's a way that you can progress forward and backward in the guide in several different ways. Another way to access the program guide is to hit the yellow button, which is right above the menu button on your remote control. If you press the yellow button, it will act the same actually as hitting the guide button. So if I press the yellow button once, it will bring up the mini guide. If I press it again, it will bring up the full guide. So again, and from there you can go through the guide just as you would with the arrow buttons, either one at a time or a full screen at a time, depending on which arrow buttons you use. And again, anytime I want to X out of that, I can just hit the exit out of that, I just hit the X button. So you can access the program guide by using the guide button. Once will bring up the mini guide, a second time will bring up the full guide, and I will X out of that. Or you can use the yellow button. Again, once brings up the mini guide, twice brings up the full guide, and there are two different ways there that you can access the program guide. Yet another way to access the program guide, you can actually hit your menu button, which is right above the OK button in the center with the arrows. So I hit menu, it'll bring up those choices there. You can use your up and down buttons. I highlight my guide and click OK. And that brings up your guide as well. So that's another way that you can get to your program guide.